Hi guys. I hope you're having a great summer. I have been having a good summer. I've been working a lot, just like probably most of you. So it's been pretty busy, but it's been good, and I love everything that I'm doing. So that's very good, and I'm thankful for what I can do, definitely. But forewarning before I talk about, the book that we went over this week, I am a hand talker, so my hands are going to be moving all over the place, but it's all good. But this week, I am going to be talking to you about what we went over book 16, chapters 16 through 18 of the book of Exodus. If you haven't read it yet, it's okay. Hopefully, this can help you along as you read it. It's very good. My notes are down here, so when I look down, it's not because of anything like shaming away. It's just because I'm looking at my notes. I'm sorry that I'm weird, by the way. So in chapter 16, I'll just go over like a chunk of what I thought the gist was from the 3 chapters. So, in chapter 16, it was the Israelites going through the Promised Land, which they called the Desert of Sin, and basically it is God testing them. So God told them that every day He will provide them with food. Nothing more than a day's worth of food, nothing less. So the people had to have trust in Him over, like that He will provide food each day. Because if they tried to save it, which He told them not to do, but they would try to save more for the next day as a just in case, it would go bad. So, and then Moses would be like, "What the heck? I told you not to save it." But that happens with us. We see that in the world, where sometimes, well, at least for me, I ask God for help and like, can you answer me? Like, I need an answer on this. I'll be praying to Him. But in the back of my head, I'll be like, okay, if God doesn't answer in time, I have this plan B, which is just like the Israelites, the plan B if God doesn't provide enough food. It's that just in case area that we really need to get rid of, because we need to trust that God will provide, because He will. He always does in the end. It's just we're human and we think we can do everything ourselves, but we can't. And actually, what I thought was interesting is in that chapter, the Israelites had said that they would rather have gone back to their comfortable life where everyone was on their hide, and it was not a safe place. It wasn't comfortable, but they were comfortable in their life because they knew that they had food, and they knew that they weren't going to die of starvation, where they weren't sure if they were going to die of starvation in the desert. But it really hit me like we get comfortable with life. We get comfortable with how we're doing things. We get in this little schedule that we're comfortable with, but we can't be comfortable with life. When we get uncomfortable is when we're doing the best of God's work. We put ourselves in situations that we maybe wouldn't be in if we were living a completely comfortable life. But we have to be thankful for what we can do and the uncomfort that we can put ourselves in to outreach for God even better. And another world view that I saw in chapter 16 was how the Israelites put their full faith in God. They can't grow anything in a desert food-wise, or else they would die of starvation, so they had to trust that God would provide. And if we lived our days out like that, with our full trust, like God will provide, it would be a totally different world, and it would be awesome. But, again, we're human, and we're just trying to live our lives, and each day, if we can do a little bit better and put our trust in God, that's worth something. And then in chapters 17 and 18, chapter 17, God continues to make Himself known by providing for the people. Kind of like how it says another part in the Bible that God is the living water. Can't survive without water. So it shows that we can't survive without God. And another part is that God will take away the harm from His people. We're not working for the victory, we're working from the victory. Each day, God takes a harm a potential harm that would be in our paths, and he takes that away from us. Like, no, he's already declaring that victory as he declared when Jesus died on the cross, which is not yet in Exodus, but it comes later. And then in chapter 18, this one was confusing for me, so if you read over it, it may have been confusing for you as well, but I was thankful to have other people's opinions on it who read it, and I got to put together all that we thought was important, what we read over in this chapter. It's basically, he reminds us why community is so important. Just how Moses' father-in-law came to visit him in that chapter. Moses is like super awesome, and he's such a strong leader, and even he needs support. Just like how his father-in-law, they talked over what he went through, and his father-in-law was able to give him pointers. And we weren't made to go through this life alone. We were made to have help, which is why we go to church and we have our Trine Christian Campus group, because we're made to get help from other people and go through this life together, and just bring in more people with us. And as leaders in things that we find ourselves good at, it's hard to give that up and let others take a chance at it. What I'm trying to say is, as leaders, giving up what we're good at is tough, but God has a plan to work through others as well, and we must be willing to take a step back and listen. Just as there's Moses, and then there's Moses' father-in-law. Obviously Moses had much more contact with God than the father-in-law, but Moses still took a step back and listened to what his father-in-law had to say, and really put that into practice. So I thought that was really cool, like belittling ourselves and humbling ourselves to others. But in general, I thought that these 3 chapters were great, and the book of Exodus so far is amazing. I've never read through it before, so it's really awesome to get to go through this together each week of what we're learning. But I hope you guys have a great rest of your summer, and I can't wait to see you guys soon. Thank you.